I've been trying that like bullet coffee thing. Bulletproof? Bullet's a whiskey. Bulletproof coffee. Lord knows what to call it. I am back after a little bit of a hiatus from vlogging. It was not intentional. It was more just that like I felt overwhelmed, and as much as I love making these videos and talking to you all in the comments and just interacting in that way, it is the first thing to fall off when I feel overwhelmed because it's a lot of work. It's not just filming, it's the editing is the real pain in the ass, to be honest. So I am back because this is it's a very special video for me to make. This is the 1-year anniversary of launching Bushyl, my business. My website went live on August 23rd of 2021, and here we are a year later. Sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been a year already, but honestly, more often it feels like, I can't believe it's only been a year. I feel like so much has happened, and I've had such great conversations and interactions, and I just have really loved so much of this past year. There's been a lot of tough stuff too. It is hard to be in the first year of your business, and it's hard to keep going during slow times, especially when you're new and you can't anticipate when those slow times will come. You know, I haven't quite figured out the rhythm of a product-based business, so some of that sort of caught me off guard, but hopefully I'll be that much better prepared for the next year. But I wanted to make a video just sort of talking about the things I've learned this past year, and maybe things that have worked well, things that I wish I had done differently, things that I wish I had known if I were starting today, or had done if I were starting today. Just not only just like as insight into some behind the scenes of what this past year has been, but also maybe some of it will be helpful to anyone who's looking to start a candle or soap or any kind of product-based business that they are making themselves. So I guess let's just get started. I guess number one thing I would do differently is figure out how to do my hair for these videos. Anyway, that's not a real suggestion, but if you're gonna be vlogging, might be something to look into. I think the number one thing I got right with this business was they talk about like product market fit, but I also feel like there's product maker fit. And I have had a lot of other businesses, most of which were not very successful. And I think a lot of it was the fit with my personality. So a few things that encompasses a few things. So first of all, I've had other businesses where they're service-based, and in order to make it worth my time, the price point has been maybe significantly high. And it's also maybe not something that I would purchase myself because I can do it myself. So like graphic design or interior design, that sort of thing. And so it's really hard for me to get into the headspace of my customer because I either at the time wasn't making enough money that I would pay someone else to do this, or I enjoyed the process myself enough that I would never hire someone else to do it. So it was really hard for me to understand what my customer or potential client base would be thinking, which makes it really hard to market. And also just like to pitch yourself. Like when I felt like I was asking for too much money, which is like it's a self-worth thing. Like there's all kinds of stuff you can do. I'm not saying you should feel that way. I'm just saying I felt that way. And it made it really hard for me to pitch myself and sell the services that I was offering. Whereas what I'm making right now, I love going to markets and buying this kind of stuff from other people. I still do, even though I can make it myself. Like I love buying candles. I love buying soap. I love buying, like bath salts. I'm a huge bath person, so I am absolutely no stranger to the mindset of going to a market, either a farmer's market or a maker's market, or even Etsy, honestly, and buying something that someone else has made. Like I know what it feels like to pick a product out of a lineup, either of tents or online listings and be like, oh, that's the one I want. So I really feel like I understood the headspace of my target audience, my target buyer. I also conveniently have a social circle full of people who are also my target audience. So that was something that I think was really helpful that I didn't anticipate at the time. But when you have a network of people who want to support you when you're starting something new, as we all do with our friends and our loved ones, it's really helpful if you are making something or selling something that they genuinely want to buy. So if I were in my early 20s and I wanted to start a landscaping business, well, congrats. No one I knew owned a home, no one had a lawn that I could start with. I would be basically like cold calling people if I were trying to find someone who would hire me for those services. And like maybe, I also don't live in the same town as my parents. So like I couldn't even go to my parents' network and be like, who needs a landscaper? So as much as it's important to do something that you enjoy and something you're passionate about, I think you also have to consider like, how hard am I going to make it on myself to get these first few customers? And if you can pick something that your social network or the social network of your family members has the capacity to be interested in, it's just going to be so much harder if that's not there. So that was something that was really lucky. I mean, most of my friends are moms. They love locally made products. They love like those sort of like simple ingredient products, low waste products. So it's like a no-brainer to be like, hey, I make this great selling soap, or this great smelling soap is what I meant to say. I make this great smelling soap. Do you want some? People were buying it for themselves. They were buying it as gifts for for our kids' teachers. It made things really easy, and it built up a momentum right away that made it easy for me to keep going. Whereas in the past, I've like launched something and it's so hard to get sales that I just lose interest. Another thing I think I did right from the beginning was the quality of the packaging and my website, my product photography. I'm lucky enough that I've just had experience with that from the many random jobs I've had. Sounds like a dumpster. Maybe the garbage truck might be here. Anyway, I've had so many different jobs where maybe taking photos is part of the job or a little graphic design is part of the job. So I luckily had those in my arsenal. I know it's really hard to hire a professional to do those things when you're starting off. So pretty much everybody wants to do it themselves. I am lucky that I sort of had those skill sets already, but I would say that if you really want to hit the ground running, those are the sorts of things that you just can't skimp on. It's just more amateur looking. And that's fine if you really want to take your time, and that if you don't have the capability to hire someone to do those things, then, there's not much you can do. But I will say, spend as much time learning things on YouTube as possible. You'd be amazed how much free advice there is out there, and just do whatever you can to just prioritize those things and make sure that the aesthetic of your brand is as close to the level you want it to be as possible. There's things that I would still improve with my own stuff that eventually down the road, hopefully I will. But I got it to a point where I was genuinely proud of what I was putting out there. Oh my gosh, so loud. Don't they know I'm filming a YouTube video? Thank you for keeping our city clean. Now, in terms of things that I wish I had done differently, like I'm not gonna say I flat out did them wrong, but like I think I either could have helped my mental health a little bit if I did them differently, or just like made it less stressful. Sorry, there's just gonna be background noise. They don't seem to be stopping anytime soon. I don't know what's causing it. One of those things is, I think I tried adding in products a little bit faster than I maybe should have. It has worked out at this point because now I've got them all really down, and I'm slowing down how often I introduce new products. But I got so excited because I started with the soaps, and then people were like, are you gonna do candles? And I was like, yes, I wanna do candles. And then finding the right combination of wax and container and wick was so much more excruciating than I anticipated. So I had put this deadline on myself that like, I gotta get candles ready for holiday, which it's like, yeah, of course, you don't wanna miss the boat on the holiday season when you're launching something new, because that's such a big time for buying. But it also like stressed me out so much that it took longer than I expected to figure out that magic combination that worked for me. And I think that what I really needed to figure out was like, how do I balance the work I need to get done now with the work that will continue to grow my business moving forward? So that not only addresses like my daily schedule, my daily weekly schedule, like what am I doing? How am I structuring my day? How am I structuring my week for success on that front? I also wish that I would have started off with a yearly calendar. This is something my business coach has had me start doing now, only a year in. But it's something that I think would have been super helpful for me at the very beginning, because obviously when you launch something, you at least want to be doing it for a year. You probably want to be doing it for longer. So it might be beneficial to look at the year as a whole, look at the major holidays and when you think you'll be running sales or promotions. For me, because I do seasonal scents, having a bigger picture of when each seasonal line will launch and working backwards from that, knowing, okay, when do I need to start producing the products for that seasonal line? And if I'm producing at this point, when do I need to be done testing out fragrances? Because especially with soap, it's really hard to know just from purchasing a fragrance whether it's gonna work in your soap recipe or not. I've been like close to a deadline, and then I've made my first batch of soap with one of the fragrances I thought I was gonna use, and the soap seized. So it was like, cool, I have been designing labels for this and it doesn't even work. So working back to like, when do I need to be done testing? And even backwards from that, if I need to be done testing fragrances by a certain time, I need to order all of my samples months before that so that I can narrow down which samples I like the best that I want to test. So you'd be shocked at how far out you need to start planning for new products. And I wish that I would have been maybe more on top of that from the beginning, because this first year, like every month has kind of felt like a scramble. At every new launch, I've really pushed it to the last minute, to be honest, to get things ready. I'm even currently doing that right now with my fall products. And like it hasn't compromised the quality of the product, but it has made me so much more stressed out than I need to be. Like I hate that feeling of like being down to the wire and just like every day having a to-do list that's longer than I would like for it to be. So again, for my own sense of enjoyment with this business, I just think the more planning ahead you can do, the better. Obviously, you can't predict everything that's going to happen and things that will go wrong, but I think I would have been well served by a little bit more understanding of what my year should look like. Another thing I wish I would have done from the beginning, I started it fairly early on, but wish I would have started even sooner. I was working with my coach. I'm not sponsored at all by them, but I use BetterUp. And it's mostly targeted, I think, at people in the corporate world. Like, I don't think it's specifically for entrepreneurs, just based off of like some of the survey questions I've been asked. Like, maybe if you have like a big company with a lot of employees, but I don't think it's made specifically for what I do, but I love my coach so much. She was the one that was sort of like randomly assigned to me, and it was fate because I just clicked with her immediately. She really helps me stay focused. And again, I know that this is like a financial thing. Like obviously I have the privilege of being able to afford this. But I will say, like, compared to some other coach pricing that I've seen, it is much more affordable than that. So look into it, because absolutely I've made back, much more than what I've spent on her services. And as much as I love being my own boss, I do sometimes need an outside person to like set me back on course. I can get distracted and in my head a lot, especially when you're like working alone. Either a coach, or if you can find a group of people that you trust that are also like running businesses you can bounce things off of. I've recently started doing that with 3 of my close friends who also own their own businesses, and I'm super excited about that too. So if a coach isn't in your budget, I would say find people either in Facebook groups or that you might know locally. I love meeting in person when I can. That's what I like about the mastermind group that I currently have. But just like someone to bounce ideas off of, because working alone is so tough. There's so many things I like about it. I'm an introvert. I enjoy having quiet time and I like being in control of all the things. But there's just so many instances where you want someone to bounce ideas off of and get their feedback and have them give you an unbiased view of what's happening. And that's where a group or a coach is just going to be so, so valuable. Okay, I feel like I haven't even listed that many things, but I've been talking so much that I'm afraid this video is going to be like 30 minutes long. I do want to mention, if you're watching this anywhere close to when I publish it, I am doing an anniversary sale at Bushyl.com. So a sale on all the products on my website right now, and I'm getting ready for my fall launch, which I'm very excited about. They smell so good. I love fall, and I love these fragrances that I've chosen. Thank you for sitting through whatever noise is happening outside. I think there might be, at this point, it feels like the apocalypse is on its way, but I appreciate you making it this far if you have. And if you enjoyed this, feel free to like it and subscribe. Do whatever you want. I don't care. I'm very aloof about the whole thing, but it does help me a lot.